Like, what's a genre that you would say that maybe is like the one genre your band can't relate to?
Country, probably.
Welcome back to another episode of Last Words here on the Pit. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite subject matters, Metalcore and MySpace. And who was in your top 8? We don't know. Who was in? Was Atreyu in your top 8? Was My Old Band Got From in your top 8? We don't know. We're going to find out today. We have a very special show this week. We're going to be talking with Atreyu, former drummer and part-time vocalist to now full-time vocalist, rock star, Mr. Brandon Saller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you. I like that intro. That's cool.
You like that? You like that? Full-time rock star.
Full-time. That's what it says on when I fill out a job application. It says, previous employers, full-time rock star.
That's right. I mean, listen, it's a whole different world being the front man. I mean, I don't really know about that, but I mean, are you prepared to have like the DMs get just hit up a lot? Are you prepared for like the swooning and the fainting and all the stuff that comes with it?
Dude, I think it's gonna be great. I think that all those dudes are gonna be really nice. No, I've just been doing, like 4,000 sit-ups a day, just really trying to work on my abs, because I've heard that that's a prerequisite. You got to have those. And, I'm just trying to do my best out here.
Like if your shirt's not off, doesn't matter.
Yeah, see, I'm trying to just be like the guy, I think the character that I want to be as a frontman is like leather jacket, no shirt all the time. No matter what the weather, like -20 or like 105, just leather jacket, no shirt. So, but that also kind of works with a little bit of a gut. So I'm kind of like, I'm in luck.
That does work, but you got to make sure you wear the right pants, because if you got a bit of a gut, the wrong pants can really make your situation go from okay to worse. So just be conscious.
For sure. I appreciate that. See, I need everything I can get here. I need all the information I can get.
I'd say you go full Danzig and just don't worry about the gut and just do all chest. If you come barrel chested, then no one looks there. They just care. Just like, that guy, he's manly. He'll like maybe punch a security guard or something. And then you need like a cool nickname, like, Snake Slaughter or something like that. And then you're good to go.
Then you could just become a bouncer in New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm not even in the band anymore. I'm just a bouncer.
So let's talk some metalcore.
I'm so in.
I was joking with Doc before, actually, that I was transported all the way back to 2003, 2004, where, God forbid, toured with Atreyu and multiple other bands. And then I really just went through a bunch of band lists of names, and I'm like, oh my God, I have not thought of that band in years.
Yeah.
All those bands are gone, but you guys aren't.
We're here. We're still we're kicking. We're kicking super hard too.
Well, not only that, you guys just got a bevy of brand new like gold records, and it seems like there's actually almost some kind of renaissance for the style that you do. I mean, have you noticed that like almost things are kind of coming back around? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think that it's been a different, kind of a strange thing for us, because we have been that kind of like fluid band that's always been sort of ever changing. So I think that if we sounded like exactly like we did like back then, it might be more of that kind of nostalgia thing. And I think that that's definitely there. You can't avoid that when you've been a band for as long as we have, but like I think that like we've always kind of like shifted and changed, whatever. So it's like we have this like pocket of our fans that are in that kind of thing. And like, it's like little brothers are now finding their big brothers records and like all that kind of thing. But I think that always happens. And I feel like all music is just cyclical, where it's like, like the 80s came back, and then like the 90s were cool, and then like emo was cool and pop punk was cool. Like everything just always gets a little bit more extreme. So it's like it was only a matter of time before like the metalcore thing, or like bands like God forbid or Atreyu like became a nostalgic, like, whoa, fuck, like kind of cool thing, So I'm rolling with it. I think it's cool.
Do you think that a big part of why bands like you was the rise at that time of social media and the internet? Because I really feel, from what I remember of that time in music and a lot of these bands, I think you guys kind of predated like MySpace a little bit, but I do feel that once that came around, bands like yours and Job for a Cowboy and stuff like that, just Suicide Silence just really exploded. And do you think that had an impact on your career as a musician and with Atreyu?
Of course. I mean, like the internet changed everything. Doc, you remember like back in the day, I mean, even like that tour, the tour we did with you guys back in the day, like the internet wasn't even really a thing that much yet. Like you were promoting locally.
Dude, on that tour, I was literally messaging people on Friendster.
Straight up.
God, you're so
Yeah.
old.
All the way back. Bring it back.
For real though. Like, so like we didn't have that. And like, you know, you had to like have local like street teams. The internet made everything just so much easier. So like for sure, I mean, it helped internationally too, where like all of a sudden it was just that much easier for people to access everything about your band. So I mean, it was a massive thing. The funny thing is when we went on hiatus in like 2010, 2011, we went away and like Instagram popped and like certain social media like popped. And then we came back and we hadn't done anything for like 3, almost 4 years. So like all of our social media was whack, but all these bands had just been going strong for all this time. And like, so it's like all these bands that were like, oh, like it's cool. Like the band that's 204 on our headlining tour has 6 times the Instagram followers that we have. Like, that's cool.
My experience with that was always feeling behind the curve of any social media, because MySpace, it seemed to kind of, like I said, have that big explosion between 06 and 08. And I always felt like we were trying to keep up with the Joneses. And then, God forbid, pretty much the band broke up before Instagram became what it was. And now you have TikTok and all this stuff. So I think it's this, unless you're an really old school band, right? Where you don't have to be there. You have your team and the label and the management, they can handle all that. For most upcoming bands, it's like, if you're not on top of that, you're kind of screwed.
What's interesting is there hasn't been another MySpace, right? Because there's nothing that converges tour dates, the opportunity to sell merch, almost like a blog. Like MySpace functioned as a website for a lot of bands who didn't have access to that kind of technology. First of all, we all learned how to code on MySpace, by the way, in a way that you haven't had to do with any other platform. So it was honestly such a game changer for bands like you guys and for bands in general and for music artists.
For sure. I mean, since MySpace band, I mean, even a website for a band is like dumb. A website for our website is just a landing page to go to all of our other crap. There's nothing actually on the website that's worthwhile. It's just going to take you to all the other stuff we want to take you to. Like you're right. MySpace was that thing that like you could have everything on one little, it was like, you know, the original landing page. It was like what websites became. Why hasn't anyone done that again?
That's what I'm saying.
You guys made some news. I mean, this was probably a year or two ago when Alex was still in the band, where he made a controversial statement about Atreyu inventing metalcore. I'm sure it's something you get asked questions about it all the time. And I kind of knew what he meant. And I like, even me, I made a post like joking, like, well, everyone knows I invented metalcore, ha ha ha, kind of thing. But how has that statement kind of affected you guys in terms of how you either see yourself within the scene, or like, have you had to defend yourself as far as that and being influential?
First of all, I think that comment came from Alex having a moment of like brain light bulb, being like doing an interview about our new album. This dude asked me a question about metalcore. Like, let me just say something that I know people are going to get really mad at. And it worked like crazy. Like, we got so much press off of that the week our album came out. You know what I'm saying? But I think the people that actually cared stopped going to Atreyu shows a long time ago.
Yeah.
And stopped caring a long time ago. And I think that, like, I don't know, like the metalcore thing has been something that was given to us rather than like something that we adopted ourselves into. So it was like, oh, you guys are a metalcore band. And we were like, what did you just call us? Like, what is that? What does that mean? You know what I mean? So it was like one of those things where like, do I think we were early in the birth of whatever that genre is? I think we were early. I don't know if we were the first. I don't think I would ever claim to have started something that we didn't know existed in the first place.
I guess I'd put Avenged Sevenfold kind of in the same boat, where I would point you guys as a culmination band, where you had a little bit of what we and Shadows Fall and Unearth and what those bands were doing, but then you also had a little bit of that Poison the Well kind of emo scene thing going on there. But then you also brought in kind of the Orange County 18 Visions the imagery. So you kind of took like the real metal hard side of it combined with kind of Warped Tour culture with a cool image. And that, when it was kind of succinctly put together in something that a certain generation could understand, it seemed to be something that was able to take the genre from one level to the next. And I think you, like I said, I do think you and Avenged Sevenfold kind of were both, even though you guys have your own things, you were kind of on the similar idea that is a culmination effect.
I agree, and I think I accredit that to the introduction of the punk influence for both of us. I think the both of us, I mean, we've always had our own, like you said, had our own thing, but coming from Orange County, like we both were super influenced by East Coast bands like Poison the Well or like God Forbid. We literally recorded our record with Eric Rachel Tracks East because of God Forbid. So I was like, we're influenced by that East Coast thing, but then we're also influenced by like the Orange County hardcore scene, but also like Bad Religion, the Vandals, and No Effects, and like just like the California sort of punk scene as well. And I think that had a huge hand in making it stand out, some way.
Well, just think about the other kind of music that was really popular at that time too. Like AFI was on MTV.
Oh, we were
right?
That's another band that we were a huge influence. I think a lot of the like the makeup thing and like the whole like image thing came from AFI and like Alkaline Trio. So, we loved like the dudes wore eyeliner and wore all black.
And it was one of those times where you could actually do multiple tours across way different genres, right? There was like this, like Doc was saying, the Warped Tour culture created the space where you could have emo bands touring with more metal bands, and you could just kind of mix them into one thing. So you're really, when you think about it, you're hitting like 3 different audiences all at once. And like horny little girls that love cute boys. And I know that they loved Alex because I remember girls loving.
And it was little girls that were horrified of us first, and then we're like, what is this?
Looking good, yeah.
There's always a debate over who was the first, but really it's always a bigger scale of who are the founding fathers, who's the big 4. So I think that's kind of really more so what you were a part of, where maybe you weren't necessarily the first, but you were a part of these other core groups in that genre.
Do we make it into the big 4?
Yeah, I think you'd be in the metalcore big 4. I would say yes.
Dude, that's tight. So who's the big 4? Like, am I Are we? Oh, we're Anthrax. Oh.
I think it depends on the era, but if I had to say current, probably Bring Me the Horizon, Killswitch, Architects, Parkway Drive. In terms of who's the like literal the biggest.
Oh, okay. Right now.
I thought
you were talking about like the big 4 that like got the whole truck running.
Forefathers.
Okay, so to actually talk about that, and this is somewhere where I feel like I have some standing in that. God Forbid was cultivating a style in like 97, 98, and at a time when I'm saying the genre literally didn't exist, and the bands I look at as being precursors of what we were doing in truly combining metal and hardcore. I look at bands like Overcast. I look at bands like Cave In. I look at bands like Vision of Disorder, who are really, Candiria, I think, is a band that you have to look at. But what we were doing, what those bands weren't doing, was really drawing upon the European influence. And I was getting Children of Bodom and Soilwork albums when you literally could not get them on an American label. You could only get them on import. And we were like covering at the gates when you go to shows, and most people probably thought we were playing original songs.
Yeah, right.
In the way like Metallica would play Diamond Head songs, and people thought they were Metallica songs. And when we started touring in like 2000, 2001, there was no scene for what we did. So we would have to tour with either a hardcore band or a death metal band or a black metal band. We didn't fit in. So it wasn't until 2003 when we toured with you guys that I was like, oh, there's a scene here that likes the genre that we play.
I think that what you said is funny. You said Cave In too. Like when we were first starting too, I think the big, for us, obviously it was mixing metal. We were, even before we got signed, like we just wanted to be Cave In. And one of the things that really drew us to Cave In was that they sang. And like no hardcore bands, no metal bands we listened to sang. It was all just screaming vocals. And I think that's the one thing that like back in the day, and I don't know what this is called, because you reference like you guys and Shadows Fall and like Killswitch. Like Killswitch sang back in the day. They were like, them and Poison the Well were 2 of the bands that we loved back in the day that was like, oh, like it's heavy, but there's like metal riffs, but they're also singing. Like, there's like big hook choruses. Like there wasn't a ton of that happening. And that's what we really loved, where it was like, which again brought back the punk influence, where it was like, let's have like breakdowns and metal riffs and solos, but like big hook choruses. Like that didn't seem like it was like all over metal or that's what I'm saying. Like, is that metalcore with the singing? Is that the same thing or is that called something else?
Well, it was really, I mean, like I said, the bands you mentioned, but then Killswitch did it in a way that people were like, that's the way.
They did it best.
But then when Howard joined the band, it became a completely different band, right? And it became even more, honestly.
Oh, really?
Not, well, all right, let's not go back to that question we already fought out. But no, it like changed that elevation, that ability to sing melodies that people can relate with outside of just metal really was a big deal. Because I also, you know who else I think of often is 18 Visions and how they basically came out with a perfect rock record, right?
If they put that record out right now, it would be top 10 active rock radio. It would be massive. Wrong place, wrong time. I agree with you though. Still, I love that album.
All right, so you have metalcore bands that started to kind of open up into the rock world because I think, like, to the point, they're touring with bands that sang, right? They were touring with people who had different sonics against it. I mean, even you guys, right? Like,
I don't know who gave us the pass for that, but like that made our whole career. We literally would do Ozfest one summer, Warped Tour the next summer. We'd do a Lamb of God tour and then go out on tour with The Used and Taking Back Sunday. And then we'd go on tour with CKY. It was nuts. I don't know how we got both sides, but definitely helped.
Like, what's a genre that you would say that maybe is like the one genre your band can't relate to? Because I think it's easier to pick out genres that you can.
I mean, country, probably.
That's fair. That makes sense. Yeah.
But honestly, though, like at this point, we've kind of dipped our toes in so many different ponds. Like, there's songs for metal kids, there's songs for hardcore kids, there's songs for like the emo crowd. There's like people that like pop artists, like some Atreyu songs. Like there's EDM electronic music is the biggest bridge I've ever seen to heavy music in any genre ever. So like we've dipped our toes there where it's like, so, I mean, I think, but yeah, honestly though, we kind of wrote a country song on Lead Sails and it kind of like somewhat, I mean, it's country people probably wouldn't think it was a country song, but we thought, but I don't know, like, I don't even really like country music. So I'll say country music's the one place where we don't belong.
One of the reasons why kind of metal elitists have this thing against metalcore is that it's all about, it's like the mutt of music that metal, pure metal people, the thing they like about metal is its purism, you know, purity, and that it's untainted by this influence and that we don't want any rapping, we don't want any this, we want it to be pure. And I think my taste, you know, a lot of it has to do with where I grew up, where it was like, we love the idea that things were mixing and changing, and it's difficult if you're just not evolving or adding any new influence. It's hard to grow, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think a big thing too, that like the whole like metalcore thing, like a lot of it I feel was image based, where like you had a band like God Forbid that was like tough looking dudes in black sleeveless shirts, most of which had long hair, headbanging on stage. You know what I'm saying? Like then you had Atreyu, who was like Orange County kids and eyeliner and like flannels and like cool mohawks with like a dude running around with his shirt off and abs. Like there was a disconnect there where it was like we were like pretty, it was like the prettier metal. It was, you know what I mean? It was like you dolled it up. Saturday night metal.
You did sound prettier too. I mean,
it was hard.
Evil and darkness.
But later, God forbid though, you guys got that tenderness.
Right. Mm-hmm. We were selling Burger King out there.
That's what's up.
Well, you know, you're ridiculous.
Well, that has been our episode about the history of metalcore, the state of metalcore, and Atreyu's place in it. Thank you, Brandon, so much for being on the show. What do you guys have going on that people should check out? New album, anything like that, and where can people find it?
New album, Baptized, comes out on the 4th. We are going on tour in November. We're playing festivals. The world is open again, and we are up in it.
Nice. Where do the people find Atreyu and yourself on the internet?
You can find Atreyu Official everywhere. You can find Atreyu Music on Twitch. You can find me, Brandon Saller, on Twitch, as well as the Brandon Saller on Instagram.
Hell yeah. Thank you, brother. We appreciate it. You take care.
Thank you for having me.
You can follow us at We Are The Pit on all platforms. If you like what you saw and you want to hear the entire unedited show, please go over to hear Last Words on The Pit. Anywhere you find podcasts, you know where to go.